I recently heard from a reputable source that fame farming in the Mist is actually really good, almost as good as the open world, because you can go in and just do the mob camp quests really quickly, and they give a lot of might and favor, allowing you to get quick fame from those quest rewards, but also buy the Elder's Fame Tomes, and overall get some pretty high fame per hour numbers. Now, I have my doubts, so in this video that's exactly what I'm going to test. I'm going to test fame farming in the Mist, just speedrunning the mob quests, and since roads are new too, we're going to test the new fame farming in the roads and compare them to the open world, see what is the fastest way to fame farm in 2023. So first up, just to quickly touch on my method and build that I was going to use. So I decided usually for a fame farm test like this, I would use the exact same build for everything that I'm doing. However, while the Mists and the open world can use the same build as they're very similar, the roads have very different types of mobs, and so the build that's good for the open world and the Mists is not necessarily going to be very good for the roads. So instead, I went with a standard base build and then swapped my weapon depending on what I thought would be the best weapon for the activity. So for the base of the build, I went for a relatively safe build with a cultist robe for extra damage, so a guardian helmet, cultist robe, and soldier boots, along with beef stews for extra damage and invisibility potions for extra safety. For the open world fame farming and the Mist fame farming, I used the spiked gauntlets as they're the best weapon for this type of fame farming, along with a Thetford cape, and then for the roads, I used a druidic staff, which I thought would be the best for that content, along with a demon cape. For IP, I got my weapons as close to 1350 IP as possible, and for the armor, I was just in tier 6 or tier 7. The IP doesn't really matter because it doesn't influence the speed of how fast you kill mobs. Okay, so starting off with open world, just to give us a baseline of what it has been, I tested it again in this patch, and I basically got the same rewards every time I've tested fame farming the open world, so I didn't test it for that long, but again, we're sitting over 2 mil an hour in terms of fame per hour as our benchmark. If you're running a not so efficient build, you can probably hit the 2-hour mark, but if you're running spiked gauntlets, it's a really efficient weapon. I was sitting around 2.4 mil fame per hour. Along with this, I was getting a little bit over 6,000 might per hour, which translates to a little bit over 1.5 thousand favor per hour. Moving on to look at the Mist rewards, I was very skeptical going into the Mist about how good they were going to be for fame farming, just because the raw numbers for like fame, how much fame you get when you kill a mob in the Mist versus the open world, is significantly less. However, as soon as I started doing this Mist fame farm, the potential was immediately there. Okay, watch how fast you can complete these quests with a PvE build. Yeah, like literally instantly. So the theory is solid. If you go in and you just do the quests, go to all the different mob camps, do them very quickly and get through them really fast, and then jump into another Mist directly after you've killed all the quest areas in that zone, you can just chain them together and get tons of those mini quests done per hour, giving you lots of favor gains and lots of quest completions. That being said, as quickly as I saw the potential, I also encountered two really big problems that really make this not good. First is that this theory of just clearing the mob camps and then quickly finding a wisp and moving on to the next Mist is great in theory, but in practice that and just moving on to the next Mist thing is a little less reliable than you would like. Usually I was finding another wisp as soon as I was done all the quests within around a minute of completing that last mini quest mob area, but there were times where I just wouldn't find one. I mean, I had situations where I was roaming the zone, the Mist, for literally 10 minutes trying to find a single wisp of any rarity, and I just could not. I combed the entire zone without finding a single wisp. So while it's usually okay and you usually find one relatively quickly, there are definitely times where you just don't, and it really cuts into the amount of those mini quests you can do per hour, and so it really cuts into your rewards. The second problem, and honestly probably more pressing problem, is just the way that the mists play out. So people that play the Mists have pretty much realized that doing those mob camp quests, if you're not specifically there to do them, are pretty worthless in terms of rewards. I mean, a PvPer, it takes much longer to do them, and it's just not really worth it. So instead, they look for things like PvP. The problem is that most of the time in the Mist is spent waiting for objectives to spawn or to find objectives like those turbulent mists and the small chests. And so there's a lot of downtime where these PvPers don't really have anything to do. They basically have two options if they want to try to find people to kill. One, they can go around and look for the spider, but the problem with that is they don't even know if the spider's spawned yet. They don't know if it's been already killed, so they can spend their time roaming around looking for something they don't know is there. Or they can do what I was finding quite often is they can just sit at those mini camp quest objectives and just camp them and try to kill anybody that comes to them. So there was plenty of times where I just couldn't do these objectives because there were PvPers just sitting on them trying to kill me. Now, because the strength of the Mist Fame Farm comes in the volume of these quests that you could complete per hour, the individual rewards are pretty low. These things that slow them down, the time going in between the mists, the PvPers blocking you off specific ones, it really cuts down on your rewards because it really cuts down on how many of those you can do per hour. As a result, the rewards that I was looking at, I was hitting around 600k fame per hour. 600k fame per hour, that's like yellow zone tier. However, that doesn't mean they were completely bad, because while the fame was really low, the might and favor was actually much higher than the roads, sitting at averages of 12k might per hour and around 4 to 4.5k favor per hour. Last but not least, I tested fame farming in the Roads of Avalon as a solo, and these were the weirdest ones, because when I went in for the first time, I thought, wow, these are going to suck, because I spent 25 minutes searching for a single green chest that wasn't already cleared, or just finding one, period. However, once I found that, everything changed because each mob was giving me 100k fame. The humanoid mobs in these new Roads of Avalon give absurd fame numbers, especially the bosses. This really makes for a sort of feast or famine experience because they're so rewarding, which means they're constantly fought over by players, so they're often down. But if you find like a good chest or a good zone with lots of chests up, you are going to look at some crazy fame gains. So while the roads were super volatile, over all of my time testing the roads, I averaged for fame at right around 2.4 million fame per hour, and for might and favor I had averages of around 7k might per hour and around 1.6k favor per hour. So which method of fame farming is the best in 2023? Well, here are all of the numbers that I gathered side by side for averages of fame, might, and favor per hour, and it is pretty clear that there is a clear outlier. The mists are just not up to snuff for fame, however, they do give almost twice as much might and favor. In fact, in the favor department, which is the thing we care about because I can directly translate to fame, it is more than twice as high as both of the other ones. So if we were to translate all of the favor gained into fame gained, basically you can buy books with favor that give 200k combat fame for 2000 favor. That means that every one favor that you gain is worth 100 fame. So if you were to take all of your favor and turn it into those tier 8 fame books, here are the adjusted values for all of the different activities. You can see the mists went up by the most, but it's still nowhere even remotely close to the roads or the open world. So when it comes to choosing the best method for fame farming, it is definitely not the mists. Between the new roads and the open world then, which one is better? Well, you can see from their averages, they're basically the exact same, at least from my testing. So really the thing you have to decide which one is best is which one is best for you, and there are really two main factors that you'd want to think about. First is just simply what kind of content do you enjoy. Roads are feast or famine. You're getting these chests and they can give insane fame, or you're just not finding any chests and you're running around for 20 minutes looking for them. The open world, on the other hand, is super consistent. There's mobs literally everywhere. You will always have a fame farm available right in front of you as soon as you step out into the open world. So really, you should just pick whichever one you enjoy more. Second though, another thing to think about is the type of weapon that you want to use for fame farming, the one you want to spec up or the one that you have a lot of spec in and you want to use for fame credits. The roads and the open world have very different types of mobs that are going to be weaker to different types of weapons. So the roads has lots of like really strong singular mobs that have tons of HP and do a bunch of damage and stuff, whereas the mobs in the open world are pretty constant. There's a lot of them, but they're not super strong. There'll be occasional boss, but not as much as in the roads. So a weapon like, say, the normal bow, which really excels at killing one target, is going to be much better in the roads than it will in the open world, because there's just single targets that are valuable to kill there. On the other hand, these weapons that have sort of like mid damage, mid cooldown AoE abilities like the spiked gauntlets and maybe like the great axe or something, these weapons are going to be better in the open world because they kind of do their cooldown and they don't really have anything past that. So you can use that cooldown and you can actually kill mobs in the open world. Whereas if you're in the roads, it probably won't kill that mob and then you're just stuck there waiting for your cooldowns again. Really though, ultimately, all of this aside, what is the best method of fame farming in 2023? Well, both the roads and the open world are both incredibly good, over 2 million fame per hour, and they're very different in terms of a gameplay experience, so I would have to give them a tie. Just don't do the mists. They suck. Anyways, I hope this video helped you spec up really fast in 2023. If you enjoyed it, do all the things you do to videos, and I will see you in the next one.